Okay, it is 6:02. We will call this meeting to order. Welcome, everyone. So for school committee members tonight, we have myself, Claudine Panday, we have member Kissinger, member Donovan, member Green, member McFadden. And let's see, for our administrators, we have Superintendent Aranakis. We have Bob Ross, Director of Administration. We have, let's see, who else do we have? We have Dr. Ahern, our Director of Curriculum, Director of Technology, Jeremy Taylor, and we have our legal counsel, Michael Pollack. I think I got everybody. Okay. Let's see. Okay, just a reminder for the school committee members, just if you don't mind muting yourselves when you're not speaking, and raise your hand to be acknowledged. And I have that screen up so I can see who has their hand raised. And I think that should do it. So I'm going to recognize member McFadden. He has a point of order.
So, Mr. Pollack, is it? Did I get that right?
Yes.
Is he there?
He's
yeah,
there.
sorry, I was unmuting myself. How are you?
Yep. Okay. So here's the question: on changing of the agenda on the during the meeting, it's been long recognized by any public meeting that I've attended that the chairman has the leniency or has the duty or responsibility, can recognize individuals if the individuals from the public want to be recognized and the chairman chooses to recognize that person so that they may speak on a matter that's on the agenda. However, when it comes to generally opening up a matter that's on the agenda for public comment without citing an individual, I believe that represents a change of the agenda, because usually as posted on agendas, if it's recognized as being allowed to have public involvement in that item on the agenda, it's usually advertised as such. So I'm recognizing the chairman's desire to recognize individuals if they choose to be recognized on individual topics for them to comment if they choose to. But to make a blanket statement that says an item is now open for public comment, I believe that represents a change of the agenda, and that is not allowed. That's my question for you.
I would submit that if you are talking about an item that is on the agenda, there can be public. I didn't really follow, and you can explain it again, and perhaps
I will.
If I'm not answering your question, then please let me know. But if the matter is on the agenda, then there can be public comment. I mean, the school committee can choose to handle it in a number of different ways. If the matter on the agenda, there can be public comment upon that issue. Now, there is a specific agenda item for open forum, correct? At which point in time the public can comment on what they choose to comment on in that particular portion of the meeting. There should be.
I'm not going to interrupt you to be rude. I'm going to interrupt you out of respect for time for everybody else. So there is an item on the agenda that addresses public comment for items that are not on the agenda. And that's clearly stated. But on items that are on the agenda, as typically performed by other public bodies, we are a public body, the chairman has the right to recognize a member of the public for them to comment on an item if they choose to recognize that individual and the individual wants to be recognized. But in the case of I am opening up an item for public comment that's on a school committee public agenda, I claim you're running afoul, because the public should enjoy the right to know if an item is to be publicly commented on or participated on in advance of the meeting.
The agenda requires, the purpose of the agenda is to ensure that the public knows what is being discussed, right? I mean, that's what the purpose of the agenda is. So there aren't fast ones, right? So the committee's business is duly advertised. If there's particular comment, and again, like the school committee can handle, and I think the last time that I was here, we had an issue similar to this. If the school committee can't allow public comment on each particular item. I don't have a problem with that, as long as what's being discussed is on the agenda. That's what I'm. That's
so
my.
as I've said, these are not. So as I've mentioned, all right, the agenda for the school committee is a public body having a meeting in public, but the public is not invited to participate in the meeting. Right? That's a general rule of any public body. My question is,
it can handle it in whatever way that it chooses. I mean, it can allow participation as to how it chooses to allow participation. As long as the items discussed are listed on the agenda and we're talking about each agenda item in due course.
Okay, so you and I do not agree on that. All right? That's fine. Let's go. Let's proceed with the meeting. He answered my question.
Very good. Okay, we have open forum. Comments must be directed to the chairperson of the school committee, who may limit or terminate a discussion. No comment should address personnel, litigation, or negotiations as restricted by open meeting regulations. The school committee cannot take action or vote on topics introduced that are not reflected on the agenda. So if there's anyone in the public that would like to speak on something that is not on the agenda, you may raise your hand and I will recognize you. Okay, we're all set. Okay, we have recognitions and achievements. We have the Rhode Island School Superintendent Association recognition of James Aranakis as the Rhode Island Superintendent of the Year 2020-21. And I'd like to recognize and welcome Tom DePaula, the Executive Director of the Rhode Island School Superintendent Association.
Thank you, Chairwoman Panday and members of the committee. We really appreciate having a chance to spend a few minutes with you this evening at the start of your meeting to recognize Jim and his accomplishments. So we'd like to thank you for that. I just briefly want to say that each year, the School Superintendents Association follows the American Association of School Administrators, AASA, guidelines for the selection of the Superintendent of the Year. And this year we were both excited and honored that Jim will be representing us both here in Rhode Island and also nationally. Typically, the AASA has an annual meeting in February. This year they'll be doing that virtually, but Jim will still be honored and recognized as the Rhode Island selection for this year. He's been a longtime friend and colleague, so I'm just thrilled to death that Jim was selected. With that, I'm going to ask if Karen Terasavich, the current president of RISA, could say a few words to the committee. And again, thank you very much.
Thank you. Yep, go ahead, Karen.
Thank you so much, Chairwoman Panday and members of the school committee. Thank you so much for having us here tonight. This is always a very exciting moment in time for the RISA membership. So as Tom just, commented, that we're thrilled to recognize Jim tonight for the Superintendent of the Year Award. Jim Aranakis, Superintendent of the Exeter West Greenwich Public Schools, has been selected as the 2021 Rhode Island Superintendent of the Year. His selection by the Rhode Island School Superintendents Association, RISA, was announced at its general membership meeting on August 18th, 2020. The selection and recognition of Mr. Aranakis by his colleagues is an indication of the high esteem in which he is held. The award recognizes outstanding achievement in school district leadership, dedication to the education of all children, commitment to the community, and service to RISA. The award was presented to Jim by Phil Auger, Superintendent of the North Kingstown Public Schools, and the 2019 Superintendent of the Year. Mr. Aranakis has served as Superintendent in Exeter West Greenwich since 2012. He previously served as the Assistant Superintendent for Special Services in Coventry from 2007 to 2012. He served as the Assistant Principal at Knotty Oak Middle School for the Coventry Public Schools from 2003 to 2007. Prior to that, he was a high school math department chair and math teacher at both the high school and middle school levels. He has also served as an adjunct faculty at CCRI and Johnson & Wales University. During his tenure as superintendent in Exeter West Greenwich, he has demonstrated a focus on teaching and learning. This has been evidenced with implementation of full-day kindergarten, a district-wide technology upgrade, transition to standards-based grading, and a commitment to access and equity again for all children. Exeter West Greenwich also has an extensive pre-K program, which has been expanded during Jim's tenure. His work as a leader is testimony to the engagement of all members of the school community in the town served by the regional district. Mr. Aranakis has been an active member of the RISA organization for 8 years, and he has been a member of several subcommittees, including works with Rhode and DCYF. He is vice president of RISA and has served as secretary of the organization and on the executive board. Mr. Aranakis has earned a Bachelor of Science degree at the University of Rhode Island and has earned 3 master's degrees: math from Providence College, education administration at Rhode Island College, and special education from Providence College. Jim resides in Coventry with his wife Kelly and their one child, Caden, who lets everyone know that he is Dad's assistant superintendent. Mr. Aranakis will be recognized by the American Association of Administrators at its National Conference on Education to be conducted online this year, February 18th through 21st, 2021. It is my absolute pleasure and honor on behalf of RISA to congratulate you, Jim, on this well-deserving award and recognition. Thank you for all you do every day for not only the students in Exeter West Greenwich, but the students and families of Rhode Island. So congratulations.
Our virtual clapping.
We'll clap.
Thank you. Thank you. I actually, I got this today.
Oh, it's beautiful.
It's beautiful. Thank you.
Very nice.
And I know I've said it before, of all years, this year is a year that we should be recognizing everybody in education, because our work is unlike anything we've ever done before during this pandemic. And I really appreciate the leadership of our organization, Tom, Karen, Tim, and the collaboration that we have as an organization, because the support this year of each other has been tremendously helpful. And I've said before also that in my district, the staff and the administrators have been phenomenal as well in helping us to address the needs of our students and our staff for reopening. And again, I couldn't have done it without all of them, school committee members, administrators, teachers, parents. It's just been an incredible collaborative year under really complex circumstances. So I'm honored to have been recognized and look forward to the February event virtually.
Well, you're a pro at that now. So,
Yeah. I can
Karen,
run the meeting now.
there you go. Tom, Karen, thank you so much for joining us. Really appreciate it. And it was nice to have the recognition at one of our school committee meetings. Thank you so much. We're obviously extremely proud of Jim and honored to have him as our superintendent, and we're a very lucky district.
Great. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we will hop on to the consent agenda.
Okay, under consent, we have the approval of minutes from our regular meeting on September 22nd. We have a number of appointments, the 4 supervisory recess assistants that were vacated as a result of leaves of absence. And one of the recess aides took one of the temporary COVID support positions that we created. We also have a custodial appointment, and that is based on a retirement. That's on the next page, also under consent. We have a retirement of a certified staff member at the conclusion of this school year, and a custodial retirement that was effective on September 26th, hence the retroactive appointment of the new custodian to September 29th. We have our monthly bills and a number of homeschool requests that have met the criteria for approval.
Okay. Anyone have any questions or like anything pulled? Give me a second to look through the hands. Okay, everybody looks good. Okay, so if we can have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved.
Kissinger moved. Do we have a second?
Second, Donovan.
Okay, let me take our roll call vote. Okay, Member Kissinger,
Aye.
Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member McFadden,
Aye.
and I'm an aye. Okay, motion carries. Thank you.
I don't think we have any of the individuals on.
So,
Double check.
all right,
Oh, we might.
Deb O'Brien is on. Is that one of our?
No, Deb's the
Okay.
secretary at the high school.
Okay. I don't see anybody else.
Yeah.
Tim Ryan
But
is on.
the recess assistants have all been working. Many of them subbed for us during previous years. And again, I was in the process of finalizing those interviews during the time frame of our last school committee meeting, and I had mentioned that we would have them start because we needed the supervision for the kids at recess and in the lunchroom. But we're
Yep.
excited to have them on board, and we are now officially fully staffed. Today.
Excellent. Today. Excellent. Okay, we're only in October. Okay, let's see. So we have correspondence. We have attendance tiered supports, Wawaloom, senior high, junior high, Metcalf. And then we have correspondence email from Member Kissinger to Member McFadden at the request of Member McFadden. Any comments or questions on the correspondence? Okay, everybody's good. Okay, let's go to the 2020-21 budget projection.
So just for the committee, this is the first budget projection that is of the 2021 school year. And as you know, the revenues are still, still pretty fluid at this point in time, given what's happening at the state aid level. If you look at the expenditures, we're in pretty good shape, I believe. Every expense we have seems to be met with equal savings in certain areas of the budget. And you'll see that as we go along throughout the year. I would take note that under the expenses, the wages, at the point in time where I did the projection, there was, we hadn't fully submitted one of the grant applications, which would absorb many of the new hires, quote, new hires, if you will, to deal with the COVID expenses. So I anticipate that wage line flattening out and becoming more on budget. And everything else is still kind of fluid. As you know, this year is a little more challenging than others.
I have a little bit to add that's related to the budget as well, if I may. I don't know if you want to wait to answer the questions first on that part.
Sorry, I muted myself. Jim, go ahead.
So one of the things that we talked about when we were balancing the budget was a reduction in the amount of what we agreed to was $150,000 in extracurricular clubs and sports. I think everybody remembers that.
Yep.
So I wanted to kind of stay in touch with our athletic director to track savings, because we did not specifically identify the sports that we would be cutting. We agreed that we would just do a global cut and that we would kind of monitor the situation along the way, because we anticipated that many of the savings would occur naturally as a result of responding to the pandemic. So Craig and I met, I think it was earlier this month, at the very beginning of the month. And I just wanted to report out on where we are with respect to those savings. We have already logged between athletics and we've already logged $46,200 worth of savings as guaranteed savings. We also have deferred another $41,519 worth of potential savings, and that's because the entire junior high school season has been canceled. But they're saying that they may try to move some of those sports into a condensed season between the winter and the spring. So even if those sports were allowed to run, the number of athletic events during that modified season would be probably cut in half, if not less. And so we would be experiencing a significant savings for the deferred sports for this season as well. So, so that is another probably, I'm guaranteeing that it's at least 8,000, and that's if I cut them by a third. It is likely going to be half of the expense, except for the coaches' salaries. And so it would probably be more like 15,000. That's the estimate. That, again, that's if everything ran and the season was cut short, which it will be. So on top of that, we also made a reduction in clubs. And so that reduction was about $40,000. We indicated that we would continue to monitor as the year progressed to see if we had flexibility to perhaps reintroduce some of those clubs into the mix. And so in preparation for that, I had the union help me in kind of surveying the advisors of the various clubs that we run to see if it was possible for some of these activities to run virtually, because again, we want to be very mindful of the safety precautions and mixing kids and so forth. So of the $42,000 in club expenditures that were reduced, it looks like we would need about $21,000, about half, in order to run the remaining clubs that were eliminated from the budget. They could run virtually. So I wanted to talk that through with the school committee, because if we do decide to run some of these clubs, there are expenses that have to be paid. For example, there's registration fees for like the math team and the debate team, those kinds of things. And there's a deadline for the registration fees, which I hadn't thought about when we talked about cutting in the first place. One of the biggest savings that we've experienced this season has been the elimination of transportation for the sports that are running, and that's because the sports games have been scheduled mostly on weekends. So the kids would have to get a ride to the school in order to jump on the bus to get a ride to another school. And the parents have agreed that it doesn't make sense, that they'll just drive the kids right to the athletic field where they're competing. That will likely be the case going forward as well. The Interscholastic League and the Principals Committee on Athletics for junior high school recognize that many districts do not have busing flexibility to transport kids. And so they strategically have looked at rescheduling on days when there is flexibility to get kids to and from those events. So we project that we are going to exceed the $150,000 mark just based on the reduction in seasons, the lower need for transportation, and certain athletic teams will not be competing. I mean, I'm going to say that. I haven't heard it from the governor, but for example, wrestling happens in the winter. Wrestling will not be able to happen. Everybody agrees. So there are other savings that are coming our way. So the projection at this point is we will exceed the $150,000 savings target. Most of that is occurring naturally because of the pandemic and the restrictions that are in place. And I just wanted to gauge people's feeling about running about half of the clubs so that our kids had something that they could participate in a virtual setting, so it still maintains safety, and we're still on target for meeting the $150,000 mark that we set when we were going through the budget process. I just wanted to talk that through a little bit because it is connected to the projection for the budget moving forward.
Okay. I'm going to recognize Member McFadden, and then I'll recognize Member Green.
Bob, so I think you've already kind of alluded to something, but if I just look at the negative number of negative 155,672, and that's after 1 month, what are your expectations for next month? In other words, we've already taken cuts. We're running kind of thin. I guess my question is, if we want to run a balanced budget, am I going to see this thing even out in a month, or is it going to go to $300,000 followed by $455,000? How do you expect the trend to continue?
No, so the projection that's rolling out for year-to-date expenses and then through the end of the year expenses. So I imagine that it will hover around here. I'm hoping that we'll get some more improvements and swing more towards the positive side. But, this is, I think if we take the wage out of there and flatten that, that brings us to about a $65,000 variance with no changes in revenue on the top side. That's a pretty good projection for right now. So to answer your question,
what you're saying is you don't anticipate
300, 450.
So what you're telling me is don't anticipate this to be a trend, that it's going to either stop at 155 or turn positive, right? That's what you're telling me, right? Right.
Yes. Short answer, yes.
Okay. And I also have a question on transportation. I wasn't always aware of it, and I may have nodded off, but I guess instead of making 2 runs at Metcalf, you're making 4 runs a day at Metcalf. Maybe that's true of Wall alone. Is that true?
So
Yes,
instead of making 1 run at the elementary school, we're making 2.
Say that again. I got interrupted. What was that? We're making 2 runs?
2 runs instead of 1, correct?
Okay. So basically 2 arrivals, 2 departures. Does that cost us any more?
So it does cost more. That is built into the projection, but we also exited from the agreement with the Rhode Island Department of Ed for statewide transportation. Bob talked about that at one of our previous meetings. Statewide did not, they didn't have bidders for this end of the state for the statewide program. And our bus company has taken over all of the runs to out-of-district placements, charter schools, career and tech, private schools, special education programs, all of the programs that we previously used statewide for. And they are doing it for us at a projected savings. And that savings is pretty significant. So the net result of our transportation is roughly, Bob, correct me if I'm wrong, but it's roughly the negative balance that's in the 5500 series on the report.
Correct.
Is that negative 55 that I'm still trying to find because I don't have my glasses on me? Is that for the entire year?
Yes.
Correct.
Projected out for the whole year.
So the savings on the charter stuff, or et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, the savings there countermanded the additional busing we're doing for local stuff, right?
That's correct. That's correct.
And we're just in the negative 5,000 for the whole shebang, right?
No, it's more than that.
For busing.
For busing, about negative 61,000.
Oh.
But that's an
Hold on.
expense. That's in the 5500 purchase other series that's listed on Bob's report.
I'm trying to find it.
I
Sorry.
have the whole OST thing in the status report also, just for the people who have read that.
So I looked under regional and non-public transportation. So the negative, what was it, 55,000 is not on this piece of paper?
No, you're looking at the revenues. You want to go down to the expenses in the second half.
Sure.
Of the page. And
Yep.
the 55,000 series where it says purchase other.
Oh, that's it?
Yeah, transportation is in that line. And that line is running at roughly a $62,000 deficit, but that is roughly equivalent to the added cost of the local busing after accounting for the savings, the significant savings that we're getting in out-of-district busing. So that's the projection for the year. And those added costs for the internal runs, that extra run that we did at the elementary school in order to meet the ridership guidelines that were presented to us from the Department of Health, those additional dollars would be eligible for relief. So if we get another relief package, and there continues to be talk about it, that would be an expense that we would target the next grant for.
So this isn't eligible for CARES reimbursement?
Well,
Because
it is.
obviously.
It would be eligible for CARES reimbursement, but we've already written the two grants. I wrote this in my status report, all of the expenses that we've included in the two grants that we've received so far. So we've applied for reimbursement for a number of things. We just didn't put the transportation in because we have more expenses than we have relief funds available at this point. But if we get another relief package and we have the ability to write for more funding to support the COVID expenses that we've experienced, then the busing increase would be something that we could easily write for in that next grant.
So what you're saying is we've exhausted the 146,000 that we got, and if we get another blow of money from the federal government, we'll apply for the 61.
Actually, we would apply for more than the 61 because we could apply for all of the added expenses or as much as we can based on how much the grant is for if we get that additional money. But
All
all
right.
of the expenses related to the additional tier, and that would actually then put us in the positive in that line because of the savings that we're experiencing by moving from statewide to local transport for out-of-district kids.
All right, I got it. All
Okay.
right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Yep.
Member Green?
Sorry, I had to unmute. Okay, just giving you feedback on your question to us about the clubs for the
Yep.
kids.
Yep.
And I know we are thin, and that was a good explanation of where we're saving and where we're tight. But I think we have to keep in mind that we are a school system and we are, here educating kids. And a big important part of high school is the extracurricular, which the kids have lost a lot of already. So I think the clubs are a great idea. Even this district, we're getting out at 12:15. So the kids need something to do. And it just gives them, having the sports, the music, the theater, all that stuff that they've lost out on. That's something a lot of them go to school to do. Like they want to go to school because they love all that extracurricular. So the debating, anything that you can offer them, I think is really important, even at this point, whether it's virtually, in person. In person's better. The sports are meeting in person. We have a lot of families that are going out of state so their kids can play sports. I think it's a shame. They're getting all the revenue in other states, but I think we should really try to keep them alive as much as we can.
And that's why I brought it up, because my target based on our discussion was 150. We're on track to meet that target, even if we reinstate some of the clubs, and it would be roughly half. Because there's no guarantee that I'm going to say this out loud, but there isn't a guarantee that we will stay in person for the whole year. So we want to at least look at clubs that we know can continue to run virtually. It maintains all of the safety that we need to meet, and it would give the kids something to do even if we went to full distance learning. I'm not saying that's going to happen, but we need to at least acknowledge that that possibility exists. Today's numbers were not good. I don't know if people heard the press conference today. Marie was listening to it. It was 666 new cases reported today.
Nice number.
That is not good. Not good.
That's all the college testing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that's not K. It's not K through 12.
No, it's the number of new cases in the state.
I think the college kids are impacting that a lot.
Yeah, I agree. But again, I figured that we could at least start talking about it because, we're now projecting that we'll hit that savings mark. And we did say that it was just a number that we were trying to hit and that we would continue to relook at our situation as time went on. So, after I met with Craig and kind of analyzed the situation that we were in and looked at the information that the union helped me to gather, I thought it was the right time to at least start the discussion.
I think it's important.
Cheryl, you good? Okay.
Thank you.
Member Donovan?
Thank you. I have a revenue question. If I recall, there was a discrepancy in the amount of the local contribution received from Exeter, and there was an affirmative vote by the majority of the school committee members to invoice Exeter for that amount. Can you tell me if that's been done?
Bob, you're muted.
Yep. So the local contribution reported in the revenue is taken from both the Exeter town minutes and the West Greenwich town minutes, what they approved.
So that added amount for Exeter, we haven't billed them for it yet. Is that what you're saying? Okay, so we should, because the school committee indicated that we should. Well, we'll do that separately though.
Yes, please.
Very good.
Thank you.
Oh, okay, I don't see any other hands. Jim, yeah, I'm in agreement with Cheryl and on the activities. And we said we would look at it. So
Yes.
I think if we can do anything safely, the kids should obviously have the opportunity to participate in all those great, extracurriculars. So
think
I'm
it's the
fine,
right
I'm
thing.
fine with it.
How about the rest of the committee? I think it's the right thing to do.
If you guys all just want to raise your hand real quick, if you, I don't know, and I can repeat your name.
I agree with it.
Lee's good. Terry, you're good?
Absolutely. Anything that has some continuation of something normal, I support.
Okay. How about Paul? You good?
If you got the money.
Yep, Jim said they have the money. It's looking good. All right, Jim,
All right.
go ahead and pursue that.
All right, I appreciate it. I'll take care of that tomorrow morning then.
Okay, thanks. Okay, let's see what we have next. We have the monthly status reports. Any questions, comments on the monthly status reports?
Oh, yeah. Oops.
Okay, Member McFadden?
Okay, so if I look, the superintendent published something about the kid count, and so did Bob. Okay, so the numbers weren't the same, but that doesn't necessarily mean that they were wrong. They could both be right. And so when I looked at the superintendent's numbers, and I'm flipping through this stuff, it looked like his number was lower, and that could be that because, Jim, you did not include those students that we outsource?
Correct. So the kids that attend the charter schools that we're paying tuition for, and I believe the career and tech kids are not included in those numbers. I did include the students that are outplaced for special education purposes, however.
Okay.
Okay.
So then I'm going to skip ahead on Bob. And Bob, so I don't have last year's numbers, but I do know that, and that between last year and this year, it may appear that there's a difference of 14 children from Exeter. I don't have last year's numbers against your numbers, but I think last year there was 810 kids in Exeter. Does that sound right, Bob? Can anybody hear me? Hello?
Yep, I can hear you now. Let me just see.
So I'm looking at the 1758, and I'm going based on bad memory. And I thought last year that number was like 1755 or something like that at the far right-hand corner, which is the total of the students
17.
between both.
1715.
1715.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so that's a differential of 42 and 13. So it would be like 55. And there was 14 less from Exeter.
Last year at this point, Exeter had 791. This year at this point, Exeter has, oh, hold on. Let me do this. Let me go back.
Looks like 796.
Hold. Last year, on October 1, 2019, Exeter had 808.
808, okay.
Yeah.
I got 810, but all right. Yeah, I think it finally converged on 810. Let's
Yeah.
go to West Greenwich's number, which is 862. What was their number last year?
The draft was 939.
So they've had a dramatic drop, I want to say.
Yeah.
Does that sound right?
Correct.
Wait, you got to remember, and Jim might speak on it, we had a lot of kids go to homeschool. Is that correct, Jim? Like over 50 went homeschool
Yeah, we have
total?
we have a pretty significant number that opted to go to homeschool for the year. They will all be coming back, or the hope is that they will all be coming back. They're doing it because of concerns relative to the pandemic. But I think that a lot of the families were from one town more so than another town, which has an impact.
Oh, sure. So I would base, so Bob, it's 4801 versus 5199. I'll assume that those are correct. And it's correct before you do your final audit.
Yeah, I expect some movement on that, but not a ton.
Okay, yeah, not a ton. When do you finally send them off to the towns?
They've got them already.
Good.
If I could just say,
Oh, okay.
I mean, Paul, the October 1st enrollment is actually the next item on our agenda, so we're probably going to be repeating the conversation.
Oh, well, it's just that the stuff runs under their reports. That's why I brought it up.
I know. Yeah, no, I understand.
Okay. Well, anyway, all right. So I get the numbers. All right. I'm done.
Anyone else on correspondence? Everybody's good? Okay. Let's go to new business. So we have the October 1st enrollment draft.
Yep. So again, that's kind of pro forma. We do this every year. These are coming right out of the state consensus or the state census in our district data. And both towns have their rosters, and we continue to tighten up. Again, it is there's a new wrinkle with that soft spot around the people who are homeschooling who typically do not homeschool. So we're just making sure we're getting all those numbers correct.
And if I can just add on to that, we have a meeting, the officers of RISA have a meeting tomorrow morning with the commissioner. We've already brought up the issue of increased homeschool requests across the state. And when a family moves to homeschool, they are not counted when the state does the calculations for their portion of the contribution to the towns, whatever percentage that is. So the number of kids that we have, if things were treated in the same way that they've been treated in the past, we would be expecting roughly a 3% decrease in our state aid, which would be significant. So our request to her, and we'll talk about it again tomorrow, is to hold districts harmless because it will have a negative impact on state aid for the families that have requested homeschooling for the year. So there is a possibility that we may have to have a conversation about, if that's the decision, if they decide to hold our population harmless, then we'll have to have a conversation about how we then attribute the percentages to the two towns, because we need to expect that a number of those kids who are not currently on our October 1st enrollment figures will actually be in school next year. We will be educating them, but we will not be receiving state aid unless there's a hold harmless agreement that is put into place. So we have that in the hands of the commissioner, and we have that in the hands of the governor's office at this time. I'll continue to keep you updated as we move forward with that conversation.
Okay, that sounds good. Anyone else on the October 1st enrollment draft? Everybody's good? Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go to, we have bond counsel services. Mr. Ross, is that you?
Yes, that is
Okay.
me. Yes, there was a pretty, in the correspondence, you see the proposal from Lock Lord, and then you see the rationale, and you can see her email back and forth to us regarding the hours and the fixed cost versus the hourly rate. It's a, you know, it's the nature of these gosh darn projects now. And I've had some professional development performed by Lock Lord. They've done it for our organization, Riasbo, and they're excellent. Karen Grande actually did some of the presentation. And they're pros, but you can see we're paying top dollar for that, or not top dollar, but we're paying not cheap. So I don't know if there are any questions.
Paul, you still have your hand up. Is that a new hand or you haven't removed it?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can hear you now.
Yes.
Yep, go ahead.
So can't this $37,000 come out of the bond if it passes? Hello?
Yeah, they would frown upon that because the bond is eligible for reimbursement. And that's where I put the attached the law on the last page, chapters of Rhode Island General Law 16-7-44 school housing projects.
No, I understand. Yeah, it's like a loan, right? You take out a mortgage. You don't see all the points because you don't pay for the points necessarily, right? Because it's embedded in the mortgage. But you're saying this $37,000 is not really a point in the conventional sense, but it's like, hey, I want to see the money up front, even though it hasn't passed yet, right? Right?
Correct.
Mm-hmm.
Bob, would this
And we haven't even set a date for it yet, though, either, right? Have we set a date?
So right now where we stand is the resolutions, the enabling legislation, that's all been submitted by Lock Lord to the General Assembly.
Mm-hmm. And what was the date submitted for it to appear on the ballot?
I believe that
Bob, hold on.
Oh.
I prefer to have this discussion under unfinished business bond discussion. So it's all in that section. Unless it's something that is going to prevent somebody from voting on the council services.
Okay.
Could I just ask, this is an expense that would not come out of the operations, right? This would come out of the capital fund that we have?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, any other
Is that
questions?
subject to reimbursement? Is that subject to reimbursement?
I can tell you that we will submit for reimbursement and let them make a decision if they will reimburse us or not.
All right, fair enough.
Okay. Everybody's good. Let's see. Let's have a motion to approve the proposal of Lock Lord LLP to provide bonds counsel services for the fixed fee estimate of $37,000 for the capital bond issue in the amount of approximately $17,840,000.
So moved.
Kissinger moves. Do we have a second?
Second.
Donovan, second.
Sorry.
Donovan seconded. Okay, we'll take a roll call vote. Member Kissinger,
Aye.
Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Yay.
Okay, and Paul, that was a nay or a aye?
That's an aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Thank you. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thanks, Bob. Okay. Okay, let's go to unfinished business. We have the 2020-21 re-entry planning update. Jim?
Yeah, I don't have a lot more to report from the last meeting that we had, except that we do have a number of our staff members and students who have been quarantined for a variety of reasons, including close contacts to family members or people outside of the school department. We're managing the absences as best we can. One of the issues that I've talked about a number of times is the lack of substitute teachers. We have put an ad out to hire substitute supervisory assistants, so not certified teachers, who can supervise classrooms for teachers who have agreed to remote into their classes if they're quarantined but well enough to work. So that is a strategy that we're moving forward with. We actually have a couple of bites on that offer, and we have already filled some classrooms with supervisory assistants, not certified teachers, and that's because the teacher herself or himself is remoting into the live classroom because they're required to quarantine by Department of Health guidelines. So we're going to continue to pursue that. We have a quarantined principal at this point. So the central office administrators, Marie and I, mostly Marie so far, have been covering that school, and next week Sarah will be added to the mix, so that between the three of us will be covering the school that's uncovered until the principal is able to return from her quarantine. So it's been an interesting journey so far. Every day we just keep our fingers crossed that we don't have another case or we don't have individuals that are quarantined, but we're doing the best we can to manage, trying to be creative about it.
Yeah, I would say thank you for the creativity on that. That's awesome. And obviously it's always all hands on deck with all you guys, so that's appreciated. Any questions for Jim? Everybody's good on that? Okay. Okay, capital project update, bond discussion. Bob?
Yep. So I did have the activity log that was embedded in my status report. So we've been pretty busy. Most of it's just been dialogue back and forth with the different folks involved. But the Martone is completed. They've done all their work. We're just waiting for them to invoice us, and we'll take care of that, and that one will be done. The Wallaloom boiler, that is, we're waiting for the breech to be manufactured, and that again should be any day now. That should be complete and then installed, and then they'll start the shakedown of that whole system. So that's moving forward as we had hoped, and they've done a great job. Automatic temperature control. The capital project bond, you just voted on the bond council, which is big. We haven't had a building committee meeting, but I wanted to I held off because there's really not a lot until we get the make sure that we're moving in the right direction with the bond council. Loch Lord has submitted that, like I said, to the legislative council. So that's going to get on the docket. The next thing, and I'll be speaking with Loch Lord tomorrow, is the outreach to the local representatives to get them up to speed on, what it is we're trying to do here. And they know, but we want to get something in front of them. So we'll be planning a building committee meeting. One of the things coming out of the last building committee was one of the members had said we need to, and it was kind of reached through consensus, that we need to kind of start to market this project. So with that in mind, in the background of, everything else that's going on, we started to craft a 2-pager back and front PDF flyer of what the bond project is about and where the district is and how that's, going to impact the different schools and what it means to the district and the community. So we're kicking that around and refining it. At some point that will percolate out to the school committee and the building committee as we move along that continuum. But both stage 1 and stage 2 have been submitted to Rhode, and we haven't received any feedback from them as of yet. So we're just waiting. A little bit of a waiting game. That's it.
Very good. Questions? Member McFadden.
So what is the date or the proposed date for it to appear in front of the taxpayers, on a bond? So it's not showing up in November, right? So any other date get?
I believe that any of the bonds that are municipal or school district will show up on the special election that is probably going to happen when they vote on, when the state comes back with their budgets and their votes for bond projects. I mean, if you looked at what you're voting on in the booth this November, it's like one item, because they're every intention that I hear, although nobody has said it officially, is the state's going to hold a special election. Not for offices, but for revenue.
Yeah, I've heard this about.
So we're going to appear on that. I got you. All right, thanks.
More than likely, yes.
All right, thanks.
You missed my, oh crap, I said everything and I was on mute.
I figured as much.
Gotta love Zoom. Okay, so what did I say? I said, thank you, Mr. Ross.
You're welcome.
Okay, we have important dates and meetings. So we have 3 school committee meetings, October 27, November 10, and November 24. And as advertised on our agenda, we do have to go into executive session tonight under 42-46-5A3 security. So if someone could make a motion, before you do that, just let everybody know. So what we're going to do is we're going to leave after we have the motion and the vote. We're going to leave this meeting, and then you're going to click on your second Zoom link that Jeremy sent out. It should be all in the same email. Okay. And I'll wait until I see everybody till we start executive session.
I'll wait here for you guys to come back.
Yeah, Jeremy. Yes, please. Thank you.
I'm gonna disappear.
Yep. Thanks, Lee.
Thank you. Have a good night.
Thanks,
You
Lee.
too.
So we go out and then back in. Is that what you said?
Hold on, because I need a vote. Lee couldn't stay for executive session. He has another meeting.
Okay.
Okay. So if I could have a motion, if someone can make the motion.
So moved.
Cheryl, if you don't mind, just say,
Make a motion to move into executive session.
Yep, and then read D for me.
Secure, you want the number? 42
Yeah.
46-5, security.
Yep.
Do you want the whole, me to read the whole?
No, that's fine. No,
Okay.
A3 security, that's fine. Okay, do we have a second?
Donovan, second.
Okay. Let me take a roll call vote. Let's see. We
Under
left, so-
discussion, what's the number that I call in to join it?
Paul, the instructions are at the end. I sent you, all the school committee members, an email today. The first part of the email had the information for this meeting. The second part of the email had the information for the second meeting, the executive session meeting. Same number to dial in, it's just a different meeting ID number and password.
Okay.
Okay, Paul, don't leave yet. We gotta take our vote. Okay, Member Donovan,
Aye.
Member Green,
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay, and I'm an aye. Okay, everybody can leave now and catch the other meeting.
Musical Zoom tonight.
I know. Hence my reason to want to wrap this up tonight. We're going to all this back and forth. I tried.
Terry, I wrote you a thesaurus, an encyclopedia, and you didn't say anything.
You got to unmute yourself.
About what?
The encyclopedia I wrote for you, my status report.
Oh, I loved your status report. I know I should have said something. I loved all of those things. We have so much to say when the scores are down and attendance and everything was spectacular. Can I go over? Am I the only one that reads them? I'm sorry.
No,
I
read it.
Out last time you said, "Are you going to put all that stuff in?" I said, "It's coming. It's coming."
Yes. Yeah. Well, especially that, right. All of the recognition of staff. I'm sorry.
It's okay. All right. Everybody's back.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yep, Paul. Okay. Let's see. So Terry, no votes taken in executive session. And then let's have a motion to seal the minutes.
I'll make a motion to seal the minutes.
Okay. Do we have a second?
Second, Donovan.
Okay. Member Donovan. Terry, if you want to say aye.
Oh, I'm sorry.
It's okay.
I get my dog to chime in. Aye.
Okay. Member Green.
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay. And I'm an aye. Motion carries. So minutes are sealed. Let's see. We said no votes taken. I think that should do it.
Adjourn.
Okay. So we have a motion to adjourn. And Mr. Aranakis cannot make the motion.
Oh, I thought you said that's it. And I said, no, you have to make a motion to adjourn.
Member Green, motion to adjourn. Do we have a second?
Donovan, second.
Okay. Let's see. So we'll take our roll call vote. Member Donovan.
Aye.
Member Green.
Aye.
Member McFadden.
Aye.
Okay. And I'm an aye. Motion carries. Super. Thanks, everybody. Have a great night.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.